You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely. Hello. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. It is September 7th, 2023, and we are here live from the Legacy420.com news desk, and we are here on the Pace Networks. We are here on CBGTV.com, YouTube, Twitter, Boxcast, all over the place, and you can, search us and find us everywhere. And I am back. It's been 2 months, and I'm back. Yay. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning. It's been a long time.
It has. And it's been a long drive.
And you had a mighty adventure along the way, too.
I sure did. I drove across Canada. I saw all kinds of amazing things. I had a bunch of holy F moments coming around corners in the Rocky Mountains.
You didn't just drive around Canada or across Canada. You drove across Canada in what?
Oh, I drove across Canada in my new Volkswagen van. It's not new. It's old, but it's new to me. And I'm the second owner of this beautiful machine, and I picked it up in Powell River, BC, and I hopped in it. I visited it out there, but then I traveled across Canada. I did just over 8,000 kilometers from Powell River to Windsor, and it was an incredible drive. It was hard. Driving across country by yourself is hard. Driving across country by yourself in a vehicle that you just bought and don't know.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking, but I made it home safe, and I am super proud of that. And I'm just like, wow, I did it. So yeah, and I can't wait to go do it again.
So you're going back now?
Summer 2025. Yeah, I'm doing the back and forth in the van. Yeah, and my plan is to invite friends. You want to take a 2-week vacation? Well, hop in the van and get your ticket from wherever we land, and I'll send you home.
Wow,
right?
That's cool.
So I've got a few volunteers already for that, and I'm sure the roster will be full, right? Because that way people just take a week vacation. You go from Toronto to Winnipeg, and then you fly home, right?
Yeah.
And I think that'll be fun. I think it'll be.
And I know it was like a dream when I was a kid. Everybody wanted to go across the country, either in a van, but a Volkswagen specifically.
Yeah. I had this dream from the second I had my beginner's license. So my 16th birthday specifically, I can remember thinking someday I'm going to drive across this country. And then, my parents being nervous about, the thought of their daughter driving across the country alone. I inherited some of their nervousness, and I never did it. But, man, I hit my 50s and I said, that's it. I need my van. And I'm going and doing it, and I'm living my 16-year-old dream. So I did.
You did it.
I did it. It was incredible. It was incredible, and I highly recommend it to anybody and everybody. The scenes that I saw, the things that I saw. I mean, like driving through Saskatchewan and Manitoba with millions of butterflies, or 1 million butterflies at least, flying around me for 2 days was a highlight, right? And, I wish that I could have operated my phone and recorded while I was driving, because it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, sounds like a great adventure.
It was. But I should stop talking about the adventure, because I could go on for the hour about that quite easily, and we should hop into the news. We do have 8 news stories coming to you today. The first one is coming to us from MJ Biz Daily. Medical cannabis reimbursements for Canadian veterans rise to $167 million.
Medical cannabis reimbursements for Veterans Affairs Canada in the 2022-23 fiscal year recorded an all-time high, according to the latest figures. However, annual growth of those reimbursements is measured in dollars, reached a multi-year low, indicating that growth in the category is slowing substantially.
Yeah, Veterans Affairs Canada, VAC, is the federal department responsible for benefits and services for retired and serving Canadian Armed Forces members. In the 22-23 fiscal year end March 31st, VAC reimbursed 21,108 people, a total of 167.6 million Canadian dollars for medical cannabis products. The agency's figures show, but I don't understand why they tell us American. I mean, we're Canadian talking Canadian dollars, so I think that's
maybe it's an American service here. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
The 2022-23 reimbursements are slightly higher than those of the 21-22, when 18,388 people were reimbursed 153 million. Though the amount reimbursed rose 9% year over year, annual growth hit a new low in the most recent year. Annual growth of medical cannabis reimbursements in previous years was
13.8 in 18-19 and 19-20. 40%, that's a big jump between 1920 and 2021, and then 28.9 between 2021 and 21-22. So it's gone down to, what did they say, 9%. Medical cannabis reimbursements to veterans have been rising steadily as overall spending on the medicine has been declining since 2018. And Canada launched a regulated recreational market. Partly because of that trend, reimbursements for veterans have been accounting for a greater share of Canada's overall medical cannabis spending, meaning the sector is increasingly reliant on government reimbursements.
That's noteworthy for business, because any change to the way the Canadian government reimburses cannabis for veterans could have a major impact on the broader market. In 2018-2019, veterans reimbursements made up 12.7% of all medical cannabis expenditures in Canada. The following year, it was 14.5%.
More veterans are catching on that it helps them. In 2020-2021, veterans reimbursements made up almost one quarter of Canada's medical cannabis expenditures. They're actually talking 23.8. So yeah, quite literally almost one quarter. And then the following year was just over a third at 35.3 in 21-22. The most recent fiscal year, April 2022 to March 2023, veterans reimbursements accounted for 42.4% of Canada's expenditures on medical cannabis. Data from Statistics Canada and VAC shows. And yeah, I mean, that's understandable. Like, more and more veterans are realizing that this medicine helps. As they listen to their brothers and sisters, they try it and they realize that, oh gosh, yeah, it helps. And as for the rest of us, I don't think our numbers are necessarily going down. I just think those numbers are finally going up.
It could be. I find it, I would like to know what the other almost 60% of the Canada's expenditures for medical cannabis are. Because this only lists 42.4% of expenditures for veterans. What is the other? It's 58%.
Yeah.
What's the other 58% that they're spending on medical cannabis?
Oh, well, there is a way, like where we have medical cannabis. If you have a prescription for your medical cannabis, you take your receipts at the end of the year and you send them in with your income tax.
Okay, and they'll reimburse you for that?
You will get some tax breaks for that, considered a reimbursement by the government, and that's what those numbers fall into. So you sort of get a reimbursement because it is a medical expenditure. I have also put things like I put a vaporizer through because the doctor wanted me to try vaping. So, you can put your medical expenses through. Now, you also have to include a copy of your prescription because you have to prove that it is a medical expense. So, and if the doctor says get a vaporizer, have them write that down and add that with it. So, yeah, you can do that to get some money back, sort of. Yeah.
Now people can learn a little bit about our tax code on Pace News.
There you go. It's kind of cool. What?
Yeah.
You always say you like to learn something new, so
I learn something every day I do this show, every single time.
Heading over to the National Post, I found this headline kind of cool. Mounties considering change to cannabis use policy for frontline officers and other members. Of course, because when we first legalized cannabis, they were told that they're allowed to smoke it 28 days before their next shift.
Yeah, okay. That works well. And police officers they have problems just like the rest of us. So
there's
this can
PTSD
help
there
them.
for sure.
Yes. Ottawa, the RCMP is looking at easing a policy that requires frontline officers and many other employees to refrain from recreational cannabis use for 4 weeks before duty. A change to the 5-year-old policy should bolster recruitment of new officers by bringing the Mounties in line with police forces that have much less restrictive policies on cannabis use.
Do you know that our soldiers, our military members are allowed to use it? They just have to stop using 8 hours before their shift. 8 hours compared to 28 days.
28 days is ludicrous, and everybody they knew that from day one.
Yeah. An internal RCMP briefing note obtained by the Canadian Press through the Access of Information Act recommends a 24-hour restriction on cannabis use before reporting to work, with some exceptions. RCMP spokeswoman Robin Percival says the current policy is under review, but no final decision has been made.
The policy took effect in 2018 when Canada legalized recreational cannabis. It requires RCMP office employees in safety-sensitive positions to refrain from non-medicinal cannabis use 28 days before reporting to work. So if they have a medical doctor's prescription, are they allowed to use this?
No.
Because that's what it states right there.
Yeah. No. It requires, like they say, RCMP employees in safety-sensitive positions, and they have deemed every position a safety-sensitive position.
But it says refrain from non-medicinal.
Yeah, so I'm not sure because I know people that have, they've got their retired RCMP officers and gotten a prescription to use it, but I don't know personally, and not saying they're not out there. I haven't heard of anybody in active duty that has a medical exemption for their cannabis.
Okay.
But that means nothing, right? That's just because I haven't heard of it doesn't mean it's not there. The policy covers a wide array of employees, from officers and reservists to telecommunication operators and firearm technicians. The RCMP says it reviewed all aspects of its operation in developing the 2018 policy on substance use. It reasoned that members work across Canada in a unique environment, including as first responders in rural and remote communities, and can be called back for duty at any time. Paramedics are allowed to use it. Military members are allowed to use it. They're not allowed to use it if they're on call. Do you know what I mean? But they're still allowed to use it. And by this standards, they shouldn't be allowed to even have a sip of alcohol either, because they can be called back to duty anytime.
Yes, it's true. All RCM employees must be fit for duty when reporting for work, which includes not being impaired by alcohol or drugs, says a notice on the RCMP website explaining the policy. Science shows that cannabis can intoxicate beyond initial consumption, and that there are no established safe limits or data on how it affects performance. Without established scientific information about cannabis impairment, the RCMP policy is taking a careful approach at this time to ensure workplace and public safety is maintained at all times.
Yeah, Taylor, who's 32, says he is keen to join the RCMP, but as a recreational cannabis user, he would like the forces policy to change. The Canadian Press agreed not to publish the British Columbia's man's full name because he fears openly voicing displeasure about the current policy could jeopardize his chances of becoming a Mountie.
And it would. Taylor said in an interview he enjoyed Cannabis Weekly as a recreational drug when personal use became legal. He then began taking it to help ease minor aches and pains, or simply to relieve stress. And I think that's how many people start. They realize that it helps with those simple things. The Mounties were the only police Taylor knew while growing up in BC.
In my family, we were always raised to respect authority and police, and that they're your friend and that they're there to help. And from the situations where I've had contact with them, they've been great to me. And that's the uniform I'd like to wear and kind of give back to my community. They have strong Canadian traditions, but they're just so behind in their policy. And I think as the times change, so must the policies.
Taylor said he was encouraged to hear that the RCMP is reviewing its cannabis policy. I can honestly say that they made this announcement tomorrow, that they're changing their policy. I'd apply tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. He intends to submit an application to the force of the new year and said he will abide by whatever policy is on book should he become a Mountie. But he added, if the RCMP adopts a more relaxed policy, I'd be much happier. The spring 2023 briefing note prepared for RCMP Commissioner Michael Duham said the risk of impairment from cannabis varies depending on the person, use patterns, and product qualities.
It notes that the RCMP statistics concerning code of conduct allegations for the last 5 years put known impairment occurrences between 0.15% based on a total of 18,000 regular members. 0.15%.
Yeah, policing organizations that initially had a zero tolerance for 28-day restriction have or are moving towards either a fit for duty or 24-hour abstinence requirement, or a combination of both. And I think the 24 hours is much better, although I kind of like the military 8-hour. And, those guys are like, they're using machines that are a crap ton bigger than the RCMP.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And a little more dangerous, too.
Yeah, nukes. The note adds that earlier this year, the National Police Federation, which represents rank and file Mounties, advised that one of the most common inquiries at recruiting sessions pertain to our policy on the recreational use of cannabis.
The Police Federation had no comment when asked about the briefing note and the policy review. The proposed 24-hour restriction on recreational cannabis use before work would apply to all safety-sensitive positions in the RCMP, with the exception of what are known as specialized occupational groups.
Yep, which include pilots, air marshals, emergency response team members, and the protective detail of the Prime Minister and the Governor General. Yeah. Quite
interesting.
Very. Very. So yeah, it's interesting how things are changing, and I hope they keep going.
Oh, they will. It's on that path.
It is. It's kind of nice to see. Yeah. Heading over to High Times. UC Berkeley announces free online course for psychedelic research.
Students at the University of California, Berkeley can now learn about tripping without taking a trip to the classroom. Last month, the University Center for the Science of Psychedelics launched a free online course titled Psychedelics and the Mind. The launch of the course marks another expansion of the center, which itself launched just 3 years ago.
According to the Daily Californian, the course will be taught by David Presti, who's a neurobiology professor and one of the center's founders. And it will be available for free during the largest of the Steve and Alexander Cohen due to the, I guess, the donations of the Steve and Alexander Cohen Foundation. Steve Cohen, the billionaire owner of the New York Mets, is a longtime advocate of psychedelic research and therapy. In June, the foundation offered a $5 million grant, and that is American, to MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies. And it's a nonprofit organization dedicated to researching the potential of psychedelic medicines for medicinal use.
Imran Khan, the executive director of the Center for the Science of Psychedelics, said that the newly launched course is an amazing thing and called Priestley a legend at Berkeley. When I tell people what I do for a living, they often first respond by telling me how much they loved learning from David in person many years ago. What we've done is convert that class into a high-quality multimedia and interactive online version available worldwide for free. It's a university-level course on the history and science as we know it about psychedelics, Khan said in an interview with the university.
Wow. I'm just getting goosebumps about this. I'm really excited about this course. I want to learn more. According to Khan, the course might also be wholly unique. As far as we're aware, there's no other course like Psychedelics and the Mind that's comprehensive, free, and focused on psychedelic science. It feels like a uniquely Berkeley thing to be able to offer, Khan said. We want it to be accessible to as many people as possible, so we plan to continue promoting it, but we also want it to be a baseline so that we can then launch further courses. For example, we're interested in explaining the medicinal side of psychedelics, or the connection between psychedelics and particular communities, whether that's certain racial groups, veterans, or people who come from specific professions who want to understand the nature and implications of psychedelics.
There's tremendous potential there for us to continue being that link between what's happening in research and practice and meeting the need and the desire to know more in the future, Con added. University of California, Berkeley launched the Center for the Science of Psychedelics in September of 2020, thanks to $1.25 million in seed funding from an anonymous donor.
Ooh, there's never been a better time to start a center like this, Presti said at the time. There's renewal of basic and clinical science with psychedelics has catalyzed interest among many people. The center, and it has, like, I mean, all those people that never would have known about psychedelics, the fact that they're in the news and universities are studying it, I mean, it's really pushed it forward, right? The center
when you attach Berkeley to something, it means something and more people listen to it.
Oh, heck to the yeah. The center also counts best-selling author Michael Pollan as one of its co-founders, and he's pretty awesome. He did that series there a while back. Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, What the New Science of Psychedelics Teaches Us About Consciousness, Dying, Addiction, Depression, and Transcendence, was cited as one of the inspirations for the center.
We're really interested in what psychedelics can teach us about consciousness, perception, creativity, and learning, Pollan said at the time. Psychedelics have a particular value later in life because that is when you are most stuck in your patterns. They give you the ability to shake them loose. That's interesting.
It's true. I mean, as we were talking before this, I said, if you had known me 3 years ago, you would see all the shaking I've done, right? You know, or shake to get them loose I've done. Psychedelics are an amazing medicine, you know, and different ones for different people and different things for sure. You must do your research. In June, the center released a first of its kind poll that showed a significant majority of Americans supporting therapeutic access to psychedelics. More than 6 out of 10, 61% of Americans American registered voters support legalizing regulated therapeutic access to psychedelics. 61%.
That's a good number.
Yeah, including 35% who report strong support. The university wrote in a press release detailing the poll's results. In addition, more than 3/4 of voters, 78%, support making it easier for researchers to study psychedelic substances. Almost half, at 49%, support removing criminal penalties for personal use and possession. Good.
Wow.
Make it happen.
Good numbers. Khan said at the time that the poll provided the first clear picture we have of what the American public thinks and feels about psychedelics. The Berkeley Psychedelics Survey shows that the majority of American voters are interested in and supportive of the field. They want fewer barriers to research for scientists, and they want regulated therapeutic access for the public, Khan said. Khan said, amidst all the stigma and the hype about these powerful substances, it's vital that researchers, policymakers, and practitioners can understand and respond to the public's hopes and fears. We're excited to reveal the full results of the Berkeley Psychedelic Survey in the coming weeks.
In the interview with the university published late last month, Khan said that the future of psychedelics in the U.S. remains unknown. I think we're seeing a glimpse of the future, though. We're near the beginning of a journey with psychedelics. These substances have been used for decades, centuries, and millennia in some contexts. And there's now been this fairly recent resurgence in popular cultural and research interest in them. We're so near the beginning of an inquiry that I hope is going to last many, many more decades. There are questions that we don't even know enough to ask at this stage, Khan said. That's really exciting. I'm really excited to see Berkeley doing this. I can't wait to see the results. And I'm going to check into this course because, like, that's just really cool. Like, I mean, people can take it worldwide. Hey, I'm worldwide. I can take it.
And it's free too, which you never hear. You never hear that.
Yeah, no, good on Berkeley and good on the people that have donated to make that happen. It's really, really exciting. On to our last story before the break. We're heading over to Mugglehead Magazine. Clearmind to collaborate with Johns Hopkins, another impressive university, to study promising psychedelic treatment for alcohol use disorder.
And Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine is the second U.S. clinical site to join Clearmind's trial, following Yale School of Medicine's psychiatry department. Clearmind's Medicine Incorporated has announced a groundbreaking collaboration with Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine to study alcohol use disorder.
The phase 1/2A clinical trial was announced on Wednesday and aims to determine the tolerable dose of CMND-100, okay, and characterized its safety and and PK/PD in both healthy subjects and individuals with moderate to severe AUD. Yeah. And AUD is just, it is alcoholism, and it is a physical thing. The secondary objective is to evaluate the efficiency of the patented psychedelic CMND-100 in reducing drinking patterns and cravings. The trial will involve oral capsules administered once daily for 10 consecutive days, with patients reporting their drinking patterns and alcohol cravings throughout the study.
And Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine is the second U.S. clinical site to join Clearmind's trial, following Yale School of Medicine's Department of Psychiatry. Dr. Zulaf Shani emphasized the importance of working closely with two of the world's leading medical centers that have demonstrated a strong interest in their treatment. The study will be conducted under the leadership of Principal Investigator Dr. Jennifer Ellis, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at JHU School of Medicine. Dr. Ellis will be supported by co-investigator Professor Eric Strain, Director of Behavioral Pharmacology Research Unit at JHU School of Medicine.
Last May, Clearmind received ethics approval to begin clinical trials of an experimental alcohol use disorder drug treatment as an Israeli medical center at an Israeli medical center. The company announced that the ethics committee of the IMCA Medical Center approved a phase 1 and 2 clinical trial of the CMND-100 compound. The open label trial determined a maximum tolerated dose and evaluated the safety, pharmacokinetics, and potential efficiency or efficacy of the treatment.
We are honored to collaborate with JHU for our first in-human clinical trial. JHU is one of the global leaders in psychedelics clinical research and in researching addictions, and we are very grateful to partner with them to study our proprietary CMND-100 to treat alcohol use disorder, Clearmind CEO Adi Zulaf Shani said. Johns Hopkins is our second U.S. clinical site joining in our trial, following the Yale School of Medicine's Department of Psychiatry. We are excited to be working closely with the two of the world's leading medical centers and have researched our treatment and agreed to participate in our clinical programs. And their stock went up.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And you know what this means? It means it's time to pay the bills. It's time to go medicate. Glenn and I will be right back after this medication session. You are watching Psychedelics and Cannabis, educational news here on paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to savethevcbc@gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
I'm having a good giggle at myself because I was replying to a message on my phone when I heard, the final thing and knew that I had to rush back. So I haven't finished my message yet, and that's okay. But I had a good giggle at myself. Welcome back. And we are back from our medication session. I'm still medicating. And you are here live with Psychedelics and Cannabis educational news here at paceradio.net, cbgtv.com, on your Roku, and all over the internet. You can find us everywhere. On to our next story. We are heading over to a publication called Market Watch. We're going to learn about medical cannabis companies blast New York for clear course for failure and state pot business rollout. Mm-hmm.
Cannabis companies say New York's Office of Cannabis Management has ignored the collective wisdom of every other state by not allowing existing medical cannabis operators to expand into adult use sales. New York's state's largest medical cannabis companies, which have been barred from wading into the adult use market for more than 2 years, are saying they've waited long enough for licenses from the state.
Yes, chief executives of Curaleaf and Green Thumb Industries, Acreage, and PharmaCann said that the state's Office of Cannabis Management under Governor Kathy Hochul is putting New York's cannabis program on a clear course for failure. While the Office of Cannabis Management has estimated that 2,000 retail dispensaries are needed to serve the New York market, the state is projected to have fewer than 100 open by 2024, the company said.
It is a little slow. New York State legalized adult use cannabis in 2021. In the past year or two, the company said thousands of illegal stores have been flooding the market with unregulated cannabis products that in some cases have been sold to children. And they have also diverted business from the state's licensed medical dispensaries. And I will say this is what they say every single time they want to get something done. It's your children, it's safety of your children. So take that with a grain of salt. While cannabis was legalized in the state more than 2 years ago, existing medical pot companies have not been issued any permits because the state is issuing its first licenses to social equity applicants under its conditional adult use retail dispensary program, which I love these equity licenses.
The OCM has ignored the collective wisdom of every other state with an adult use cannabis program, most recently Maryland, to permit existing medical operators to stand up the adult use market. The company said in an August 31st letter to Hochul that was seen by Market Watch. Spokespersons for the governor did not comment on a query from Market Watch about the letter.
And Chief Executive Matt Darren of Curaleaf, Brett Novy of PharmaCann, Ben Kovler of Green Thumb Industries, and Dennis Kern of Acreage requested an immediate issuance of licenses to qualified medical operators. Such a move could add up to 33 retail cannabis locations to those currently operating in the state, and they said provide a dependable supply of safe, tested cannabis products.
Under current state law, 11 medical operators would be allowed to open 3 adult use retail dispensaries each. So 33, which is hardly a monopoly by any standards, the company said. The subject of licenses is expected to come up when the state's Cannabis Control Board meets on September 12th.
In July, the state's Office of Cannabis Management approved 212 QAURD licenses, bringing the total number of licenses in the state to 463. However, only a much smaller number of licensed shops are currently operating because of the steep startup costs and real estate challenges of opening up a retail business in the state.
The state's program has also faced a number of legal hurdles, mostly recently a lawsuit in the state Supreme Court brought by 4 military veterans alleging that the state is breaking the law by giving license priority to people with previous cannabis convictions rather than to disabled veterans.
I think they should be both in the same pool, not one over the other.
Yeah.
Because veterans obviously need it. And there were people that were really affected by these laws for decades. So, both of them should have an equal footing in it.
And they were supposed to be able to offer these turnkey operations, like, helping people like not have to worry about things like, insane costs and finding places to put them.
And that's what's happening. They're giving these equity licenses to people who deserve them, but they don't have the funds to open up the shop. So
we help with that, and I don't see that happening either. Last month, State Supreme Court Justice Kevin Bryant lifted a temporary restraining order on 30 licenses, but an injunction remains in place on issuing or processing new licenses while the lawsuit is being worked out. The next hearing on the lawsuit has been scheduled for mid-September. Yeah.
They're having a problem. 100 after 2 years, they only have 100 stores open.
And honestly, with that, it makes me realize that we were a little bit luckier than what we thought we were here in Canada for the start, right?
And I think we did it as a whole country is the difference. They're doing it state by state by state.
And it's crazy. Heading over to Ganjapreneur for the next story. California campaign seeks to legalize psychedelic mushrooms.
Okay. Activists with Decriminalize California are seeking to put a psychedelic mushroom legalization question before the voters in 2024. The initiative would legalize the cultivation, possession, and consumption of unlimited amounts of psilocybin mushrooms for adults aged 21 plus. Activists in California are seeking to add a psychedelic mushrooms legalization question in 2024 ballots, the San Francisco Standard reports. Ryan Munier, campaign director for the Decriminalize California, told the Standard that the group originally wanted to go for all psychedelics, but the problem was there wasn't enough public comprehension about what else was out there.
According to the Decriminalization California website, the campaign must collect 546,651 valid signatures by January 10th. The proposal would allow for the cultivation, manufacturing, testing, distribution, transportation, possession, and consumption of unlimited amounts of magic mushrooms and psilocybin-infused products for adults 21 and older. Under the initiative, the products would carry no taxes unless they were for adult use, which would carry local state taxes. Additionally, the proposal would not impose special dual local permits and state license requirements.
The initiative comes after the Senate in 2021 passed a bill to legalize possession of psychedelics in the state. However, that bill was not taken up by the State House. In May, the Senate passed a similar measure. That bill would not legalize sales, was approved on September 1st by the Assembly Appropriation Committee. A survey from the University of California, Berkeley in July found 61% of California voters support a regulated framework for the therapeutic use of psychedelics. Another 49% of respondents supported decriminalization of psychedelics.
Yeah, California is going to lead the way in that one as well.
They are. I think it's happening all over.
It is. It's really amazing to see. I mean, like like, from a patient's point of view that has actually been helped by these medicines, it's like, I mean, like I say, it gives me goosebumps to see it happening. And I hope and pray that it happens better than the cannabis rollout did, because we're still seeing issues with that. So yeah, I'm excited to see it all happen. It's pretty exciting. Yeah. On to
a lot of the problem in the States is, like we were talking about before, it's each individual state. So there's the myriad of laws down there is crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at at some point in time heading down there, but I've got to get myself a green map. I mean, I got to know where I can dump it, where I don't have to, it's because I'm not going to get myself arrested down there. So I'll follow their laws.
Even some legal states, you're not allowed to travel between state to state, and they're both legal states. It's I don't know how you're supposed to know what the law is.
No, but I mean, I got to do some research before I go there. I mean, because there's some places that I'd like to visit, but yeah, it's confusing. I mean, and as long as I'm showing up in green states, I mean, I'll call the police and go, hi, can you tell me what the law is so I don't get into trouble while I'm here? If I have to, that's what I'll do, because
I even know some states you have to be a citizen of that state.
Yes.
To possess a cannabis at all. And
So I want the tourist green map, not the I live there green map, right? Yeah. But I mean, I know a lot of the places that I want to go to are like everybody can use it. It's legal for recreational purposes, no matter who you are. There are some places that I want to go that I'm just going to have to eat a lot of it before I enter the state and hope that it lasts me for 24 hours, right? Yeah. But yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe by the time I go, they'll get their head out of their asses. Fingers crossed.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. It'll happen. Heading over to RNZ out of New Zealand. Medical cannabis industry growing as regulation overhaul is given a green light.
And medical cannabis producers are looking at growing more plants and exploring different product options as regulations are being relaxed. The government has approved changes to New Zealand's medical cannabis scheme, expected to make it cheaper for patients getting a prescription.
Currently, the average cost for patients' prescriptions from a pharmacy is several $100s for up to a couple of months' supply. But that doesn't actually tell us how much, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, that could be an ounce, that could be 2 ounces, that could be a pound, who knows? Cabinet released the changes in July, and MedSafe, which regulated medicines and medical devices, said broadening the medical cannabis category meant a wider range of plants could be grown locally and more cannabis products exported.
Acting Group Manager Derek Fitzgerald said changing the quality labeling requirements for exports of medicinal cannabis meant New Zealand companies could access more markets readily. He said because New Zealand had a smaller population, our medicinal cannabis market was also small. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we recognize that having we recognize that access to export markets is necessary to help ensure our local industry can continue to be commercially viable. The changes are designated to streamline and update the scheme's compliance requirements without compromising the overall quality of cannabis-based ingredients and medical cannabis products supplied to New Zealand patients. This will help ensure a sustainable medical cannabis industry in New Zealand.
He said these changes would support the medicinal cannabis industry, which was important for ensuring that medicinal cannabis products, which meet the minimum quality standards, could continue to be supplied to local patients. Helios Therapeutics had a medicinal cannabis growing facility in Auckland. Spokesman Bruce Wallace said having fewer restrictions to send their producers to offshore markets was a relief. As well as until now, it had been a struggle as the local market was not big enough to be financially sustainable.
Wallace believed that pending improvements to the scheme would lead to more plants being grown and new companies getting licenses to produce or develop products. He said having easier access to international markets would mean the price patients pay for cannabis products should drop. And as it was expensive to produce it until now, only being allowed to sell solely on the local market meant charging higher prices.
And we would expect it to drop over time. A stronger industry means more competition, more players, and a wider variety of products. We'd also encourage patients to shop around, as some pharmacies charge more than others for medicinal cannabis products. Wallace said the majority of products sold here were oral liquids, or whole flowers that patients vaporize using an approved medical device.
Cannabis products were predominantly prescribed for anxiety, pain, and chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting. He said Helios Therapeutics' large facility in Auckland had room to grow and expand.
Currently, the challenge is to make sure that we get the exports away that will fund and drive that growth. Wallace said their products could also be sold to researchers who could start doing local trials with cannabis under the scheme's changes. And MedSafe said the changes to the medical cannabis scheme would come into effect by the end of this year.
Wicked.
Yep. Everywhere. Changes everywhere. Slowly but surely.
That's right. That's right. Heading over to our last story of the day, so we can talk about this one for a minute. And it's coming to us from Psychedelic Spotlight. And there's a new study that has been out. New study determines psilocybin provides rapid and sustained antidepressant effect. So it's pretty exciting.
One of the largest studies yet lends more evidence to the view that psilocybin may hold promise as a novel intervention for major depressive disorder. Last Thursday, the American Medical Association published on JAMA Network the results of a randomized 6-week clinical trial involving 104 patients to evaluate a single-dose treatment of major depressive disorder. 25 milligram dose of synthetic psilocybin was administered to a total of 51 of those participants with psychological support, while the rest of the patients received a placebo with the same psychological support. Why didn't they use natural psilocybin?
Well, the synthetic psilocybin that they're using isn't actually synthetic. The 25 milligram dose that they're talking about is actually equivalent to 5 dried grams of mushrooms.
Okay.
And they extract the psilocybin out of the mushrooms, therefore calling it synthetic because it is man extracted but not man-made.
Okay.
And I only learned this because I was supposed to be part of a study that was here in Windsor. And that's what they do is they extract the psilocybin from the mushroom. So you're not eating the whole mushroom. You're just taking the psilocybin, like the psychoactive part of the mushroom.
So they're trying to make the dose exactly the same every time. That's what they're trying to do.
Like it's an exact dose. It's a controlled dose. They're making sure that you're not getting you're not getting what you don't need and stuff like that. The lady that I was talking to here in Windsor, she's actually a psychonaut and she's been involved in, healing medicine since she was 9. So she's been a psychonaut since she was 9. She had her ADHD medicated out of her at the age of 9 and has been growing her own medicine since she was 10. And she's about 10 years older than me. I mean, I had complete faith in this woman. So that's what they're working with is they're working with extracting the psilocybin out. And therefore it ends up being called synthetic.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I just have to send a message here. I got to scroll down. Psilocybin. Sorry, I just had to tell somebody I'd call back so the phone would stop buzzing. Psilocybin administered with psychological support was associated with a rapid and sustained antidepressant effect, measured as change in depressive symptoms scores compared with active placebo. No serious treatment emergent adverse events occurred. Of course they wouldn't, the study found. With authors concluding the findings add to increasing evidence that psilocybin, when administered with psychological support, talk therapy is important, may hold promise as a novel intervention for MDD. Absolutely. Through the results of this study. Although the results of the study are familiar, it was actually quite unique in the realm of psychedelic research, being the first large FDA-type phase 2B study of psilocybin with a bigger sample size than previous studies, as well as broadening scope from treatment-resistant depression disorder to less severe major depressive disorder to somebody that has severe CPTSD. It helps.
Okay, so this is all combined MDD with PTSD too, I guess it can be.
Well, I mean, yeah, PTSD comes with a lot of stuff. Like some of the symptoms of PTSD are major depressive disorder. Most people that have had CPTSD for a long time, I mean, their depression is treatment resistant. I can appear to have ADHD, memory problems. And I've been diagnosed with a lot of stuff over my years. I've been diagnosed with bipolar, and I mean, none of them are true, but with CPTSD, if it gets bad enough and uncontrolled enough, all of these things can appear as symptoms. So major depressive disorder, which is, untreatable, and ADHD and lack of memory. Yeah, it can get really bad for people. So, as we were talking before the show, I was pretty severely affected by PTSD, and it caused manic disorders, moodiness. I was severely depressed. Medicines didn't help. Nothing helped. It even got to a point where, cannabis wasn't enough on its own. I had to add in mushrooms.
So that's where your journey began, trying to seek some kind of medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're learning. So this could be used for PTSD just the same as MDD because it can be combined.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like each of these studies has to I get why they do it. They pick one thing and they focus on it. Like we were talking about alcoholism here in one of the last stories. But mushrooms can help. Mushrooms can help with all of this. If you're fighting an addiction, mushrooms should be taken more often. If you're fighting a depression, you should have bigger doses less often. Do you know what I mean? And every patient's different. It's the same as cannabis. I know people with depression that they need to smoke. They need to be lighting a joint every half an hour. You know what I mean? And then, some days I smoke one joint and I'm just as medicated as they are, but it's just what we need. Yeah.
Individual, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Although the results of this study are familiar, it was actually quite unique. Oh, we read that one, didn't we?
That's okay.
Though the psilocybin remains illegal in the vast majority of the United States, lead study author Charles L. Raisin, MD, explained on a JAMA Network podcast that a single dose of the psychedelic can benefit the many, many people who do not get adequate response to the antidepressants we have currently. That's just what you were talking about. More than half of the people that are struggling with depression do not get a remission with currently available agents. And when they get it, they tend to lose it, Raisin said.
Yeah, it goes pretty fast, right?
Temporary relief, that's it.
Yeah, the amount of different medications that I've been on over my life. I started on one, 2 years later, it doesn't work anymore. So they wean me off that and over to another one and wean me off that. So, I've gone through up until I got clean off them back it was 2015. I've been through all of them. Any new ones after 2015 I haven't taken, but before that, I've been on every single one of them. And none of them work long term. Not like this. I take a large dose, which is a gram of psilocybin once a month, and it helps. I'm overdue for it right now. But yeah, it helps, right? And then I microdose, and that helps. But it's not an everyday. It's not big, huge doses. It's not, it doesn't leave me like a zombie like the other stuff did.
I'm just wondering, when you microdose, how does it affect you? I know what getting high feels like, obviously. When you're doing a microdose, do you get high?
No. The whole point of microdosing is to not be high. It is to receive the medical benefits without the psychedelic benefits.
Okay.
So when
you don't feel any high from it at all in a microdose? No,
you shouldn't. You shouldn't when you microdose. If you're microdosing like that, you shouldn't. When people are finding their dose, you should, go up your dose by 25 milligrams each time. Once you get to one that, walls are starting to melt, well, you go back to the dose before that. That's your dose. The blue sky may be bluer, the green cheese may be greener, you're going to smile more. So I guess there is a minor effect, but there isn't an affect your day, you can't work effect.
So when you're walking around, you're completely normal, as if you didn't do any of it at all.
Yeah, when I come to New Brunswick later on this month and we sit down and hang out, if I'm microdosing, you won't be able to tell.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Following 6 to 8 hours of psychological preparation work and the actual 6 to 8 hour dosage experience, behavioral outcome assessments were completed a day after, a week later, and 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, and 6 weeks later. The 6 weeks post-dosing was the primary endpoint of the study, Raisin said. And the primary outcome was change in depression symptom score as measured by the Montgomery-Ashburg Depression Rating Scale, which is pretty much the standard thing that's done in the field. The study results reflect the anecdotal experiences shared by individuals who have used psilocybin to treat their depression. Retired firefighter Joe McKay, who was among the 9/11 first responders and suffered from post-traumatic stress from the ordeal, and I imagine he did for over a decade, recently described psilocybin therapy as transformative.
I stopped taking the cocktail of pills I had been prescribed, many of which caused damaging side effects and were addictive, he wrote in a guest column for Cal Matters. It's not an exaggeration to say that psilocybin gave me my life back. It's been transformative and allowed me to feel happiness and joy in a way I never thought I would again. Wow.
That's fucking beautiful, dude. Sorry to swear on the news show.
Gave him his life back.
I got chills. That was beautiful. And I get what he's saying 100%, because like, the cannabis helped, but it was the gateway to the psychedelic medicine for me. It brought me to mushrooms. Mushrooms brought me to iboga. Iboga brought me to DMT. DMT brought me to Cambo, which, gave me back Hape, which I learned about years ago, and introduced me to Sananga. I've learned about amanitas and how they can help sleep. And there's I could go on forever, but we don't have enough time.
You said Samanga? Is that what you
Sananga.
said? Sananga. What is that?
SANAGA. It is an eye drop that detoxes your eyes and your pineal gland. It's a very difficult medicine to take. It the medical time lasts 5 to 20 minutes ish. Most people it's 5 to 10. But it goes in and it burns, like it hurts. It really, really hurts. You have to really be good with your breathing. I went to Lamaze breathing. I went to my Lamaze breathing thought process when I was doing Sananga, and then the burning will subside, but then it gets gritty, and you can't open your eyes because that makes it worse. But you'll feel gritty, but that's the detox coming out.
So what does it do? What does it do to your eyes?
It literally detoxes them. It takes all the crap out of your pineal gland and it detoxes your eyes. Wow. How like as you get older, you get dirt in your eyes and you end up with floaters, and mine are gone for the most part. In the 6 month following Sananga, my eyesight's better, literally. My night vision improved greatly. So it's but you should only take it with somebody who knows what they're doing, who can administer it, so you can learn. How would you find those?
How would you find that person?
Oh, we're all over the place.
So you just look up Sananga and you're going to find someone that...
I don't know if you're necessarily going to find somebody that way. You might have to do a little bit of seeking, but don't do it alone. It's painful. It really is. I would never want to do it alone. I want somebody there telling me what a good job I'm doing. It's okay. You're going to get through this. It's been 3 minutes,
Yeah.
Because it's not a comfortable medicine, but the benefits are great. And it's not for everybody. You must do your research, because if you have lenses put in, you can't do it. It'll melt your lenses.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I've learned so much today. This was a big learning experience for me today.
And now I have to quickly say we are at the end of our show. That is our PACE News broadcast from the legacy420.com news desk for today, September 7th. And as we close the show, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. There are 3 of them. There is Lifestyle Shop, Campbellford, and Legacy. And a big thank you to our viewers. We absolutely love you. We wouldn't be here without you. Catch our next broadcast on Monday with Reverend Kelly and Al. Have a great weekend, folks. See you later.
Bye now.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab-tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.